So this is pretty significant. This is pretty remarkable. This is pretty interesting because Anna Kasparian has revealed more information about the departure of Dave Rubin and more of the details of that whole situation. Information that I was not previously aware of, you guys were never previously aware of, because these words that you guys are going to see have simply never been uttered by anybody at TYT that we've ever heard. So this is from the Michael Brooks show, of course. Anna Kasparian was in the studio, with Michael Brooks. And this is also after they had done a live show in LA. So this is very interesting. We're going to get into watching this now. We're going to see a couple of different parts here, but it will soon get to the part that I'm referring to. Well, let's check this out.
That's number one. I left. I told them I was leaving, and I left. There were no negotiations. That's it. Actually, my executive producer, who I brought with me, they offered to double his salary if he stayed. So together we would have made more money if we'd stayed. But that has nothing to do with nothing.
Doesn't make you
no. It's kind of pathetic, really. I'm not funded by the Koch brothers. I mean, I wish I was funded by the Koch brothers. That would be nice. I wouldn't be wearing H&M underwear. I mean, it's like
so what?
This is what I'm talking about. It's that sort of endless hysteria, attacking people, attacking motives. Nobody's interested in that anymore. I really don't think people are interested in that.
I think people are super interested in that hysteria in the conflict.
She's absolutely right. People are interested in it. That's why people watch this channel.
But let me just say, he is telling the truth about one thing, and his husband is his producer.
Okay.
And he was really good at what he did. And so when Dave Rubin wanted to leave, we wanted to keep his husband because he was good at production. And so I don't know for sure if they offered to double his salary, but I know that he was offered a raise. And Dave Rubin was so insulted by that because the company was basically like, yeah, you can go, Rubin, but we want to keep your husband and we'll pay him more. And mind you, this entire time, Rubin's like lobbying them to pay him more, pay me more. I'm going to do this really lame 30-minute a week show on social stuff.
It's like the Daily Show, except it's not funny.
Okay, listen, man, that is significant. That's remarkable stuff. Because, again, we had never heard that information before. And I had done a video talking about the Sky News interview that Dave Rubin had done that you guys were, they just played a clip of that they were reacting to. And we didn't know that, And so when I saw that they had offered to double his salary, I didn't really know how to feel about it because I didn't really have all the context of it. But now to find out that it turns out that they actually I'm going to assume they offered to double his salary, although can we really believe Rave Dubin here? I'm not sure, but as Anna says, they clearly, offered him a raise, and that, Rave was very insulted by this because, as she explains, it's like, oh yeah, Dave, like the guy who's like the, has his own Rubin Report show. Like, yeah, you can dip. We don't really care, but like your husband, like we actually prefer him, and that's like, whoa, that's very odd. And so Dave actually didn't mention in the video that it was his husband that was the producer as well, which is very interesting because otherwise, why would you kind of say like we together would have made more money? It's kind of weird. And by the way, I also want to mention that Anna has stated in, I believe it was one of the other times that she called into the Michael Brooks show, and she basically said that his husband is actually the mastermind behind all of this. So she basically said that he's like the architect behind this kind of flip, and that he's sort of like the brains behind this. Because as you guys know, when it comes to Dave Rubin, there really aren't many brains, if any at all, that exist. And so, there's that kind of whole thing going down. Obviously, Dave Rubin doesn't really know what he's doing, and so he's, behind. And by the way, I did see some Reddit posts that had some evidence that Dave Rubin's husband had actually had a bunch of sock puppet Wikipedia accounts to like fill in information on Dave Rubin's Wikipedia page. So there's certainly something to that. But let's continue watching this.
It's also like Talk Soup, except it's not the 1990s. Double my salary.
Jeez. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with leaving to go make more money.
Definitely.
One of our great producers actually got offered to go work somewhere else and make more money. She left. Good for you. We're not hating on you for that. But my attack toward him was because for 2 years straight, he was bad-mouthing us over and over and over again.
Yeah, so she's 100% right. And I actually don't think that I had disseminated that point well enough in one of my videos that I did about, I think it was the first video that I had done about it. Like, there's nothing wrong with going to a new job where you're going to make more money. There's not even anything wrong with asking for more money. But the problem becomes when that asking for more money is then followed up by a lie in which you're lying about not asking for more money. That's obviously problematic because you're lying. But also it's problematic because we see the succession of like, oh, Dave Rubin wanted more money. Look where all the money is. It's on the right wing. It's, very well-funded venture. Can't ask Candace Owens. She's got $100K, dollars to donate from her donors, which we know are the Koch brothers, to have a debate with AOC. Remember that? So there's nothing wrong with going to get a better job and make more money. There's certainly no problem with that whatsoever. That's not the problem. The problems are when you lie, and that we clearly see an intent of making more money in which you then sacrifice your morals and your dignity and everything for that specific reason. That's when it becomes problematic, okay? That is when it becomes problematic.
And I'm like, I can't take it anymore. I have to say something.
How did that work? I mean, he built his whole brand on trashing you guys for years. And
True.
Then was it just like, I mean, I get it. Like it's like in much smaller, like you can't respond to everything, obviously. So was it just like a conscious decision to like just be the better people?
So,
or was it because of your lack of interest in ideas?
honestly, at first, as I've talked about before, I was hurt more than anything because we were friends. And so it was weird that he left on good terms. We're still friends. We're still hanging out. And then out of nowhere, he goes on Rogan's show. And I think that was the very first time he publicly attacked us. And he never named me. He would just say the Young Turks, or he would specifically target Cenk. And so I remember texting him and saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing? We're friends. Why are you doing this? And why are you making things up about us? He's like, well, I'm not talking about you. I'm just, I'm talking about Cenk and TYT.
Oh, see, he didn't have his line yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is also an interesting point that she's talked about this before. But this also leads into another interesting point, which is actually that it is interesting because they held their silence for a couple of years, I think like 2 years. And what we know is that Dave Rubin now ghosts every single critic that he has, period. And he spent his flip where he made all this money. He spent that entire time shitting all over TYT, right? So calling out Cenk and other people, mainly Cenk, and calling out the Young Turks, right? The organization, which includes everyone at the Young Turks, and mainly Cenk, right? And then all of a sudden, like 2 years later, you're like quiet on any single criticism that comes your way. It's either a troll. The way that he actually rationalized it is in his mind is this is what he does. He goes, oh, well, as long as their haters are there, that's actually a good thing because it's an indicator that I'm relevant. So he doesn't really care, and it's ironic because he always says that the left has never had a moment of introspection, but he never does a moment of introspection. And so I wanted to point that out, how, interesting and remarkable that is, that after that long, he now, after spending 2 years just mercilessly attacking the Young Turks, he now will not respond to any criticism in any way.
I'm talking about.
I'm just talking about my ideas.
About my ideas,
TYT.
I have a lot of ideas about TYT.
And the thing is, like, I'm kind of half the face of TYT.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, that is a pretty incredible, like, you are literally on the fucking Twitter account, right? Like, isn't it like a photo of you and Cenk?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a pretty outwardly facing part of the whole brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. So it's like when you think TYT, you think Cenk and Anna, because obviously they're the main two co-hosts, right? And they're the main two hosts of that show. And so the idea of Dave Rubin being like, oh, no, I'm not attacking you, Anna. I'm just attacking Cenk, who's your co-host and the founder of the network you work at, which is hilarious in and of itself. But I'm also... but I'm not, I'm not attacking you. The person who's literally, as Michael put it there, like half of TYT basically, because you've really got Cenk and Anna in terms of like the face of TYT. The face of TYT is Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, And so it's really hilarious that would be like his sticking point of like, no, and I'm not, not you. I'm just talking about Cenk and the Young Turks. Like, well, motherfucker, I'm like, she, was thinking I'm like half of the Young Turks. Why the fuck would that be like some sort of argument?
So, and then look, after watching that video the first time, I enjoyed it, and then I felt bad. I felt bad because you can see the hurt in his face. You can see like it was like a gut punch, and I felt guilty. And I said, you know what? I've said my piece, and I don't need to go at it anymore. But you keep reeling me in, Michael.
I know.
No, Anna, you can't do that, Anna. You can't do that. Like, you can't. You have to fight fire with fire. Okay, this is not one of those situations where when they go low, we go high. Nah, fire with fire. Okay, you have to fight fire with fire in this situation. And Anna's talked about this. She talked about his quality. Dave Rubin has this characteristic of being somebody who is relentless. Okay, he does not care what consistency he breaks or any of those kinds of what morals, dignity, ethics, any of those things that he breaks. He does not give a shit. So when it comes to that, we have to be relentless in our approach as well, because that's the only way to try. We have to make Dave Rubin break, and that's really the goal, is to make Dave Rubin break into finally admitting that he's a sellout. That's my ultimate goal, essentially, is to just keep pounding away until he has, no more energy left, and he'll be forced to admit that he's a sellout. Now, is that ever going to happen? Probably not, but fuck it, I'll still try, because it's fun dunking on Dave Rubin. But Anna, I definitely think you should not feel bad. Do not feel guilty. She is right that Dave clearly was like, damn, like that hurt Dave. But it's like, fuck you, dude. Like, it's on you. Like, well, you didn't. You brought that on yourself. It's your fault. It's like, it's like hitting someone and then them hitting you back and you being sad. It's like, well, you hit them. Like, what do you think was going to happen? Like, it was going to be like a really cool, like, peaceful moment or something. So this is a very interesting clip, and we did get to see, and always from the Michael Brooks show, of course, a very good show. And we did get to find out new information about Dave Rubin and his husband, who's the producer of his show.